Welcome to Brutally Honest Talk Radio, where you'll learn about an issue minus the BS. We don't always say what you want to hear, but what you need to hear about the issues of the day. Here's your host, Inger, along with Elmo with his political insight and commentary.
And thank you so much for joining us on Brutally Honest Talk Radio. I have again here Elmore Still, who is going to give us his commentary of what he thought of the State of the Union speech given by President Trump the other night, or the other week, actually. So, Elmore, if you want to jump right in, go for it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thanks, Inger. So, State of Union address was last week, and overall, I thought it was good. It was good because Trump seemed to be going down a list of the state. It's a state of how the country is doing. It's not about him, although he took credit for a lot of things, and it's fine to do that. But the whole point of that speech is, how is the country doing? What are good things that are going on? And so every president is obligated to do this once in a while. Also, a place and time for them to campaign, really, and talk about the good and the positive. We see a lot of negative, so let's hear some positive, and then maybe people can learn something. So just a few things that he said that I'm going to list, and then we go back and maybe.
Yes, kind of what was it? First of all, let me step back. Did you watch it and listen to it, or did you only listen to it? And I asked that question because I only listened to it through my Alexa. That's why I didn't watch it, so I didn't get the visuals or the that would have gone along with it. So that's the reason I asked you. Did you watch it and listen to it, or only listen to it? And based upon that, kind of what it was, your reactions.
Right. Well, first I watched it and listened to it on television. So I saw like the first 30 minutes, and that's not including introduction and applause or the first 10 minutes. So I caught the beginning of it, and then I had to head out. And so several days later, then look at it a little closer.
Okay. What are the top three things that kind of struck you about the State of the Union?
The different stats, the different points that he made. I listened to it, saw the Fox video on YouTube, but the second time on YouTube, I was more listening to it. I didn't catch a lot of the visual or the optics of what was going on.
Okay. Well, what was it that struck you about?
What struck me the most is things that I didn't know, or things I didn't know for certain, which he said 7 million people off food stamps, 10 million people off welfare. This is since he's been in office. We are the number one producer of oil. I like what he was saying about healthcare too. Healthcare, a couple things to protect pre-existing conditions, meaning protect from the health insurance companies. All right. And then he said something also that was interesting: price transparency. You can go to the doctor and they could say, well, we need to check you out, or we don't know exactly how much this is going to cost, but your insurance is going to cover a part of it, and the blah, 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 blah. And you can contact your insurance company and find out exactly what it is. And then a month later, you may get a big bill with 3 or 4 digits in it. And it could be way off different than what you were expecting. So I want to find out more about that price transparency. That sounds like a good thing. So, those are a couple of things. And then he mentioned high-speed internet for all, especially in rural areas. Now, he talked about the State of the Union, some facts on the way that things are now, and projecting forward about what's coming. or what the plan is, and that's good. So of course, price transparency, or he mentioned another branch of the military, a space force. These are things that haven't come into existence yet, but they're good things. Those
Okay.
are those are good statistics on food stamps and welfare. Now, some people on welfare, it's a lifestyle. They're very comfortable. This is good. This is a good deal for things the way that they're going. Other people, they want to be independent. They're really struggling. They'll take as little as they can, and the plan is for it to be for a short amount of time. So that many people got off of food stamps and got off of welfare, which is good. So some of them, um, I'm just thinking, and I don't know the numbers, but it's got to be some willingly and some unwillingly for that reason.
Okay. Well, today he announced that he was going to cut spending. And one of those areas where he was cutting spending was in the social safety nets, if you will. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about that in contrast to what he said with the welfare spending?
Yeah, I think this should be cut. I think there's too much social spending, and I think that when people don't have a crutch and they don't have a safety net, it makes them hustle and work harder. And I think the welfare system is essentially broken. And what I mean is there's many people floating through that system that are not supposed to be on it, not close to needing it. One part of welfare is assistance for children, single mothers, single parents. I personally know of a woman grew up where I grew up, and last I heard, she had 11 children, 11 children by 7 or 8 different men.
Wow.
I would tonight bet my life that she is on government assistance.
Hmm.
I didn't talk to her directly to know that or to ask her, but it's just something very wrong with that. And so there are people, there are extreme people in the system like this that don't need to be on it. So the good people of the government, they want to push such a program out. They really want to help people, and they're thinking that they are helping people. Why would they not say, okay, we will help you. You already have one child or two children. After you get on this assistance, we will help you, but 4 children is the limit. After you get 4 children, you can't receive any more assistance. Or how about saying, don't have any more children unless you're married first, and married for 2 years or 3 years, as a probation period. Like, if the mother and father can't stay together for 3 years, maybe they don't need to be having other children. So food stamps, there's a downside to that. You've heard of people selling their food stamps or trying to use it to buy steak, lobster, German chocolate cake. When someone goes to a food pantry and gets food, you can't hustle that. It's food. The only thing you can do with it is eat it or sell it. But like in my church, there's like a once or twice a month limit to come in and get the food. And if someone were hungry, really needing food, and they still decided to sell their food that they may get from food pantry, I would say that they may be on drugs, selling it to buy drugs. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And yeah, I would encourage anyone to talk to their grandparents or look back into your history of what your grandparents or your great grandparents did when they didn't have these programs. And two of the biggest cornerstones of any community or any family should be the family, the extended family, leaning on each other, helping each other, and the church. I don't think the government should be giving more money and assistance than the church is giving.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. That's fair. And you said the welfare removal, and also you said the oil production is increased. And I guess I'm gonna try to do a tie-in to that. The welfare removal, there are more jobs. People don't need that safety net anymore. It makes sense to get rid of that social safety net because people are working and they can take care of themselves. Um,
Right.
now. And with that, there are more jobs being produced, which is more oil being consumed and that sort of thing. So I think that's the kind of tie in there. So, what do you think about the oil production piece that he mentioned during his State of the Union?
We have resources here in America, Texas, Louisiana, Alaska, and some of the Midwest, like Iowa or the Dakotas, natural resources in the ground that oil can be refined, and it's a very lucrative thing. So it just helps out. It helps to keep the price of gas lower, and I'm more for being self-dependent on oil than foreign dependency as much as possible. We're not 100% independent. We may get there one day, but to be the largest producer of oil in the world, considering Saudi Arabia and how much the rest of the world puts out, that's good. It's a great commodity. Let me run down a few other things real quick that were also mentioned. African American and Hispanic unemployment dropping down, going down. I did some research. This is from the labor force statistics. In 2010, 17% unemployment. This year, this was just checked this month of 2020. Unemployment, African Americans down to 6%. Hispanics, 2010, 13%. And now is 5%. And from the same source said that African American unemployment, the lowest since 1972.
Wow.
Hatred is really something, and it just it blinds people and skews their judgment. And sometimes we don't want to receive a gift based on who the giver is or the package that it comes in, or want to hear or receive the truth based on the mouth that the truth is coming out of. And to be expected, the Republicans applaud, stand up, Democrats sit down, be quiet. There's not much movement. But something interesting that happened. There were a few occasions where Trump was able to get the Democrats to applaud and got Nancy Pelosi to stand up and cheer, because a
Where
lot of what
where were those? Where did that happen?
you mean on what things, on
When,
what topics?
yeah, on what topics where she actually stood up or the Democrats actually stood up and applauded what he was saying? Because
Yeah,
again, I didn't see it. I just heard it.
so it was mostly with the guests that he had there, how things had gotten better for them. I think this one man's name was Rankin, if I'm not mistaken, and he was on drugs, and so he got cleaned up. He got some education, got a good job, and so he was there that night. And also, this man who just turned 100 years old. There was one of the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yes.
Okay, first he started talking about the Space Force, and this young man was there, maybe 10 years old, and he looked like a Native American, or a Native American or Hispanic. This kid, and he was well dressed, and so Trump said that this kid wanted to be a part of it. He wanted to grow up and be in such a branch of the military, and be out in space. And then he introduced the officer, the Tuskegee Airman, who actually looked very good for 100 years old. He had all his hair, his hair was white, but he had all of it. And he didn't look that old, and he was able to stand up and sit down on his own. And so this man had served in Vietnam and Korea, and I think also in World War II. And then he said that this officer, was the great grandfather of the kid who was there that wanted to be in the Space Force. And so when this man was introduced, some of the Democrats stood up and some didn't. Like it's just certain people, they wouldn't applaud, and it's like this is a good thing. Another thing, there was a Black woman there with her daughter, and her daughter got a scholarship to go to any school of her choice, or to go to her favorite school, the best school that she could go to in that area. And so they come from a poor neighborhood, and things were bad, not many opportunities, and this came about. And the mother is a single mother, I believe, and so the girl is like 12 years old. So people are applauding and standing up, and then the camera shows this group of mothers. I don't know what they represent. Maybe they're for abortion, or a woman's right to choose, or whatever they were. They were sitting together. They were wearing white. These women, some of them Black, they would not stand up when this girl got the scholarship. And it's like, well, depending on who announced this, they probably would stand up. Would have stood up. And so, I just noticed little things. Nancy Pelosi fidgeting with the papers in front of her a lot, just shuffling them. It seemed like she was trying to look busy, or like she was focused on something else other than what he was saying. Like, I'm not tuned in to what you're saying. It's not important. I'm reading paperwork right now. Sitting next to Pence. I'm reading. I have more important things to do. That's just the way it looked. I don't know. I don't know if the Speaker of the House traditionally does that, or if they give eye contact to the president and the people in front of them. But that's another observation. So, and then there was a mention of the socialist leader of Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could have been more in tune to, I'm watching this, trying to do something else at the same time, but also there's a man that's working with Trump, and Trump mentioned a 59 country coalition against the socialist leader of Venezuela. Mm-hmm. So, in other words, to tighten and cut off supplies, or like they have sanctions, but just a unity, because the people there are really being bad. It's one of the worst examples of socialism in society in modern day, is because of the Venezuelan regime. Mm-hmm. Different things that stood out with me were those. And the refusal to stand up or acknowledge, and I mentioned about the pre-existing conditions for insurance, and all of that is good. So, just what I would say to people as they watch this, and here's the thing. Here's kind of a litmus test to do, because some people look for a messiah or a savior in a president or a politician. Mm-hmm. Of course, if they do that, they're going to be disappointed. And so just a test to see someone who agrees with everything that someone says or does, or will defend everything. To me, that's a form of worship. By the same token, if someone were to criticize or have something negative to say about a person, and not be able to say one thing, one redeeming quality, that's hatred. Why do I say this is because everybody that you know personally, I mean, there are bad seeds, there are evil people, but it is so rare. It's such a rare thing. It's I don't want to compare to certain type of people or things they may be born with, but just statistically, if you know somebody, like I can't say of anyone, they don't care about anybody but themselves. And I try to be careful about that. I don't want to say, the only way I could say that is if I actually live with the person, that I was around them so much time of the day to know that. And we don't know any of these people. We're trying to go by the facts and information that we get and make the best decision based off of that. And hatred puts a black shroud over everything, good and bad,
Hmm.
and just makes it negative. And so anyway, that was kind of the temperature or the flavor in the room, where Trump is saying positive things. I mean, if they disagree with it, go and check it out. But if it is something that you want for America, I beg the question: why are you shaking your head or smirking or looking down? You know. So, um, but this is kind of what I want to say, Inger, in my message to the listeners. The two main things. One thing is fact checking.
Okay.
That is go and research and find out for yourself. Find out for yourself. And it's all about the source. If your source has a good reputation, undisputed, the facts that they come out with, that's a source that you want to go to, that you want to deal with. Um,
And what
I don't
would
know
you
if I,
say to someone who's like, well, how do I know that this source is good? How do I know that it's reputable? I mean, just because, and I think we see this a lot, people think the source is reputable or credible just because it says what they want what they want it to say.
Mhm.
What would you tell someone to look for in a reputable source?
Well, so I would say corroborate the story. And what I mean by that is get uh get other sources and check what they say about the same statistic. And also do research on the source. You can do background on PolitiFact or on the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and see, over the last 50 years, how many retractions have they had to make? How many things have they printed which turned out to not be true? And that's kind of what historians do with things that happened 1,000 years or 2,000 years ago. Is they always get at least three or four different sources, and they're looking for a commonality. They also talk to people that work directly with the parties involved, or research people from around the region, or just check multiple sources and see what they have in common.
Okay. What
um,
else?
you should be able to look at something, look at a statement, and decide if it is a good thing or a bad thing. Meaning, is this a good thing for America? This is me. This is how I am. I don't want anybody to get in office that's going to do things for Black people only. I want someone that's going to do things for all Americans, because I know that 99% of the needs of people are the same, regardless of their race or their culture. And we all need food, clothing, shelter, love, a good job, transportation, health should be at the top of that list. And that's for another day, I guess, with health care and the scare of healthcare or the lack of it. And so I'm not looking for that. And I hear people say, what has this person or that person done to help Black people? You know what? I'm not handicapped. I don't need help. I don't need to be hired by my company because of that, or because I don't have within me, I don't have what's needed to do this or do that. Even grants and scholarships are fine because someone still has to work hard. It's just a door that's open. It's an opportunity for them to get where they need to be, and then you still have to work hard to stay there and to maintain it. So, the things that I were hearing him list, when he went down the list, good things, good news. I am pro America. And what I mean by that is I am for freedom that doesn't take away from someone else, and things that are going to cause people to have healthy and whole lives, prosperity. You may have heard the statistic about Black-owned businesses increased 400% over the last 3 years, or since Trump has been in office.
Yes.
And so here's the thing. That's different from unemployment. That's not people receiving money, although some of them may have received loans where a bank may have not been able to give them a loan 6 or 7 years ago because of the economy being so bad. And the recession was birthed out of the banking system and the subprime mortgages and the loans and people giving loans and people that accepted the loans also. If someone came to me and said, look, we're going to give you $1 million house. We know that you're not making enough money right now. For the first 3 or 4 years, your house note is only going to be $1,200, $1,300. But then after that, your house note is going to double. And I shouldn't say, well, I can worry about that when it comes, or I'll just work harder or try to hustle or whatever. It's not a very good plan for Black-owned businesses to increase that much. The entrepreneur is confident. The entrepreneurial spirit has risen because they started businesses. I mean, they own the business. They're still taking risk. There's no guarantee that they would make it or fail, but consumer confidence and the confidence of entrepreneurs and banks also, to help out with business loans or people that give investment capital or venture capital. What you called on a State of the Union. You want to make any comments?
Yeah, that piece, folks, and going back to people standing and not standing, I would have thought that would have been a piece where everyone would have stood up, Black unemployment, people starting businesses, the whole 9 yards. That's something that should resonate regardless of which side of the aisle that people are on. You would think that's a good thing, especially for the Democrats who say they're constantly for minorities and Black people and that sort of thing, that they want to do what's best for them and want them to have what's best. But yet and still, when it goes to show, like you were saying, looking at the facts, that this is actually happening, that minorities and Blacks are actually doing better, then they're the first ones who resent it. So they're talking out of both sides of their face. I mean, it's incongruent. That doesn't make sense. So, and again, like you said before, they don't like the mouth that is coming out of, even though it's a fact. So that says a lot about them and kind of where they stand.
And
They'd rather see us on welfare, if you will, or minorities, period, on welfare.
yeah,
They'd rather have these things. And that just goes back to them thinking that they know what's best. And it's about power. That's all I can think of. It's about power.
people sitting down, some of them, they want to sit down. They don't like the president, or they don't like what he's being said. They don't like what he is saying. Others, who knows if constituents may have asked them to stay seated. It may have not been their idea, and they don't want to stand out or be ostracized by the rest of the party or their constituents. So, and I noticed that a lot. I really get the strong message that the Democrats don't come up with a lot of ideas on their own, that they have to get together in big groups, especially when we get in trouble, and try to find out, because the top or the leadership, they just don't come up with many innovative or pioneering ideas or things to do. And so politics is the acquisition of power, and they want to do things that serve their party, and it try to keep them in office and keep them coming back. So that's a big part of it. The driving force of the country is the citizen and the voter and the working class and the middle class. So, regardless of what they do, all those people in Congress, they serve us. They're public servants. They have to answer to us. And so we need to hold them accountable. We need to know the names of different people in Congress, in office, and what they're standing for, what they're working for. And track record is important also, because it's easy to promise stuff. It's easy to say that I'm going to do this or this is going to happen. I'm the kind of guy, I want to know, what is your plan? What's the formula? What's the bridge for how we're going to get there? Especially when someone promises to give away free stuff, because everything that's in front of you, everything you see when you go outside and you drive around every day, somebody had to pay for it. May have been free for one person, but someone had to pay. And so for someone to not mention where that's going to come from, it's just it makes me skeptical.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing free. Nothing is free. What someone gets free, someone else had to pay for, just like you said. And you said there was a second point that you wanted to get across today. What was that second point?
Well, the 2 points were, one being fact checking and to check sources and information, and the other one just being for people to be honest. And you hear information, or you see what the president does or says, and say, is this a good thing? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? And I don't want to just look at myself and how my house is doing, and I feel like me and my family are doing very well. I have a good salary and able to take care of things that need to be taken care of, with some left over at the end of the month. To me, that's a good situation, and it's been like that for many years. But I like seeing my neighbors prosper, and I like hearing statistics about my people and all people doing well and unemployment going down. I want to see that. I want to see. I like being out and seeing trucks delivering items or whatever. There's so many jobs just in that, and in commerce and industry, and kind of it being a big network of goods and services, and it needs to flow. The economy is a river, and it needs to constantly flow and feed into the next river or the next bank. there's a mentality. There's a mentality of dependency or lack of confidence. People really feel like I need this safety net. I can't go out. I can't try. And what if I fail or this or that or whatever it is? And I believe that all men and women are created equal. I believe that we have what we need inside of us. First, you got to find out what you're good at, because everyone has different talents, and that to go after. And I should be the number one exploiter of my talents. You may say that other people exploit them, or in a basketball player in the NBA, how they're exploited for by the owner of the team or the league or whatever. Well, the players benefiting from that. They by choice got into it, and they're using what they have. They found out at some point in the past what they were good at, and they stuck on that. They said, this is my thing. I'm going to work hard on it. Um, Andrew Yang, I like a lot of what he has said and his ideas. And it's like 1% of the Democrats are supporting him or voting for him.
Mhm.
And a part of that is the lack of money. Money helps someone to get on the air, on camera, or to get attention. And so we need to seek out whoever the candidates are, and find out what's going on and what they stand for. I don't want to have an allegiance to the Republican Party. Let me mention a couple things. In
Mhm.
2000, Bush ran against Gore. I didn't vote for either one of them. I voted for an independent named Harry Brown. And I found out about Harry Brown on C-SPAN. And the things that he was saying, and he's an independent. I don't know exactly the name of his party, but I voted for him because it just really struck me and got my attention. You have to be true to yourself first, and who you believe is the best, and then whether or not you think someone can win, that's not your problem. I mean, if there was someone who, I don't know, some evil person that was rising to power, then I might get involved in some kind of a campaign or a plan to block them, where it's anyone but this person. But for the most part, I want to cast my vote, and all votes are seen and heard. They really are. But anyway, just to cast my vote and let my voice be heard for who I identify with the most.
I know we were talking about the State of the Union. You were talking about pre-existing health conditions, price transparency. You touched on a couple of things too, as a matter of fact, and people say this a lot. Voting, people feel like if they vote for certain people, that they're throwing away their vote. And I put that in quotes.
Hmm.
It's a throwaway vote. But
Yeah.
you flipped it and said that's not the thing that you think about when you're voting for a person, that you're voting for that person and that's where you choose to put your vote. So I thought that was interesting. That was interesting. Because I know you hear in
Yeah.
a lot of the different circles, Republican and Democrat, well, you're just throwing away your vote if you vote for someone that they say can't win. So
Right.
that was interesting. So do you want to expand on that? That was interesting.
I just identify with what he was saying. First of all, he really came across as a guy who was speaking his own ideas, not something that was pushed on him by an agenda. And he just said a couple practical things like your next door neighbor shouldn't be calling the police on you because your dog is barking too much. And at that time, I had a Dalmatian who was going crazy. and would bark at everything outside. And my neighbor at the time was a guy who was retired from Delta Airlines as an airplane mechanic, worked on engines for 30 years. So his nerves were shot. And the slightest thing, this really got out of hand. Like my dog barked in 5 minutes, he called the police. They came over like at least 15 times, whatever. So, so that got my attention. And then he also said that if there was a dictator who was trying to kill Americans, if there was another country or a leader that was an enemy of ours, he said that he would put a worldwide $1 million bounty on their head. So that if anybody took them out, whether they were American or not, and I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. You got 6 billion people and 3 billion are trying to take this person out. They're either they're either going to go into hiding because they can't trust even their own people, or they're going to be, they're going to be taken out pretty soon. So we have to be true to ourselves. And so if let's say I'm a Democrat and I am following Andrew Yang, well, if he's still in the race, I can support him and go for him. He's either going to get the nomination or he isn't. And only one person is going to get it. So that would naturally, it's like a funnel or a just where things blend and merge and come together. That's naturally going to happen with people anyhow. And sometimes a part of that is, let's say my number one guy was Ben Carson. He didn't make it, but the guy who does picks him as his running mate. Or I feel, well, I can't, the guy who I wanted isn't going to make it, but he is going to be in the White House if they win. Then that's another reason, people may vote for someone. So if people have to be honest, I mean, there's very little leadership. Some people are not independent thinkers. They don't know what to look for, what to go by, how to make a decision. There's usually 3 major debates, and there will be this year after the Democratic nominee comes out. I try to be open-minded until the 3rd debate is over, because I don't need to feel like I've heard everything I need to hear or I know everything, because that's going to make my brain shut down and I'm going to stop listening and learning. So I'm open to the debates, and I want to say something about Buttigieg. And he is gay. Understand? He's the gay candidate that I first heard people talking about it. I didn't know much about him, and then time goes on, and you get more information. And so there are people who are straight like me and heterosexual like me who would not vote for him just based on that. One guy, he wouldn't even take a stand and give an answer. Okay, this is a few of us talking, and another guy said, well, what if Trump ran against Buttigieg? And so the guy paused for a few seconds, and then his answer was, not Trump. That's it. It's like, so you wouldn't vote at all, or what? And so anyway, I just want to, let me give this as an example. Okay. Let's say that, God forbid, I need brain surgery. No one has died after having his surgery. Let's say the oldest one is 10 years. They're still going strong. But the guy in second place or third place, one is he's straight. He's a very good guy or nice guy. The other guy is a Christian. He's always quoting the Bible, and he lives by that. He goes to church every Sunday. He's not afraid to say Jesus, okay. But the guy in second place, the last 2 people that he operated on, one of them ended up with brain damage, and the other one, they died a year later. And then this other guy, he's He's never headed a surgery. He's more of an assistant. You know, he doesn't have all the knowledge. He's there to pass the scalpel, or someone says tie this off, or work on this. But he's never had surgery, uh, conducted it for more than an hour or two at a time. Whereas someone on Ben Carson's level, like 22 hours straight on their feet, constantly focused the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you know what? The guy who can do the job, that's the one that I'm gonna go to. Even though it has nothing to do with me or my sexuality, I'm obviously the opposite and going in the other direction. But that's not why I'm hiring them, or why they have to answer to me, or the job that they're doing. Now, I'm not a supporter of Buttigieg, but it's not for that reason. People have so many allegiances, or they put a strike against someone. Bloomberg, he made a fortune, and he did much better in America with his businesses than he would have done in France or Mexico or Venezuela with the same talent that he has. So I just, I look at campaigns and different things, and just pull out different things, little things like that. So.
Gotcha. It's interesting. He has the least amount of Buttigieg. I cannot say his name. He has
I know what you're trying to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, Pete. He has the least amount of legislative experience, and I'm not sure, like I said, about his background. I don't know how much business experience he has actually, outside of being a politician. I don't know what his background is, but people have definitely latched on to him, probably because he is the more moderate of the ones who are out there, taking away Joe Biden, who I don't think really should be in this, because I really don't think he's healthy. I think there's just something else going on there, and he should not be doing this.
Well, you remember the comment he made about, I need a vice president who can be ready to take over at any time, because the age that I am. And then people were laughing at it, and then he said, "No, I'm serious." I mean, he I don't know how old he is. I know Trump is almost 75, and he doesn't really act. He doesn't act his age.
No.
He doesn't act or behave like a person that's 75. But Biden, he's a much different man now than he was 5 years ago. He acts like he's ailed, and part of his strength in life is gone. Part of his vitality is gone. Look, let the person, whoever they are, whatever it is about them, let them come ready to do a job that's going to benefit people. We're talking about nothing is for free. Everything is paid for by someone, even the roads that we drive on. But here's the thing. It's okay for things like roads and street lights, police department, firefighters. It's okay for taxpayers to pay for that, because those are things that benefit everyone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we're almost out of time here, and I think we can have a lead in or a teaser for the next episode. And you can share your thoughts on this next week. What do you think about Obama not endorsing Biden? You don't have to say anything now. Just kind of think on it, and let me know your thoughts about that next week.
Okay.
All right. And anything else that you like to say in the last 3 minutes that we have here about the State of the Union? Anything else you want to add?
I think it's one of the best State of the Union speeches ever. I think that the impeachment was a mess. I like that he went through it and didn't talk about the impeachment at all. And then the next day was acquitted. You know, they did the voting, and that was the next day. He's a man. He's a human being like all of us, and he made a comment about all that he had been through, and that him and his family, and that he said, I don't know if most presidents would have been able to take it. Um,
Gotcha.
but I'm pro America. I feel optimistic. That's it. I think someone who is not from America and not familiar with any of these people, they came here visiting a week before the State of the Union, and they watched it. And like I said, they don't know the background of anything, but if they just listen to that and watch it, and they came here looking for a better life, and they are a fan of capitalism, they watched that speech, they would have a very good feeling or assessment of the country and where we're going.
Gotcha. That's fair. Let's end on that note then. Thank you so much for giving me your thoughts on this, and we'll catch up next week.
Goodbye, everyone.
And we'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
in the world now. That I'd heard that before.
4, 3, 2, 1. And thank you so much for joining us on Brutal